40% of people regularly reward their pets with treats. Who's going to the vet for a lovely long sleep? Who's going to the vet for a lovely long sleep? 44% of Brits think that we should have a space programme. But Britain does have a space programme. Doctor Who. And 27% of men play games on their mobile whilst in bed with their partner. I'm guessing Angry Birds, especially when she wants to play Snake. Yes, Simon Cowell has become a father for the first time. I'm surprised Simon was at the birth of the child, because normally he doesn't like being in a room where he's not the biggest. Punchline removed for legal reasons. So those were the most talked about things over the last week. But in other news, it's been revealed Tony Blair apparently advised Rebecca Brooks on the hacking scandal just before her arrest. Blair's main piece of advice was don't go out in the rain with that hair, it'll go all frizzy. And a woman's been treated for burns in Barcelona after the toilet she was sitting on exploded. As she was carried out by emergency services, she whispered, "I'd leave that 5 minutes if I were you." Well, I can tell you the proposed sugar tax is not in our top 3, but they want to tax fizzy drinks because they're linked to obesity. Although, saying that, another study claims that fizzy drinks are good for you, and that was carried out by the eminent scientist Dr. Pepper. The EU referendum debate's not one of the most talked about things over the last week, but Ed Miliband says if Labour win the next election, they won't call for a referendum on Britain's EU membership unless Britain was asked to transfer more powers to Brussels, which I think you'll agree is about as clear as Eric Pickle's piss. I can tell you pubs is not one of Britain's greatest contributions to the world, but the oldest existing pub in Britain was built in the 8th century. We don't know much about it, but we do know the barman was a guy called Skip from Brisbane, who was just working there so he could get some money together to bum around Europe. Norwich has the politest drivers in the UK. Well, it's difficult to be rude when virtually everyone you meet is a close relative. The oldest paperboy in Britain is Bernard Davies from Brighton. He's 90 years old. Sorry, we just had an update. The oldest paperboy in Britain is Gavin Henderson from Sunderland. He's 12. And 51% of women do not groom or style their pubic hair. 51%, that means statistically, either your mum or your nan is rocking a Brazilian. Yes, floods have been devastating parts of the UK. Eric Pickles was the first minister to apologise for the flooding. He filled his bath too high, and when he got in, Somerset flooded. Yes, Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin are splitting up. In the press release, Chris Martin and Gwyneth Paltrow said they were consciously uncoupling, as opposed to unconsciously uncoupling, which is just when it accidentally slips out. So those were the most talked about things over the last week. But in other news, it's been announced Nick Clegg and Nigel Farage will take part in a televised debate. Now we can finally get the answer to the question British voters really want answered. Who would win in a fight between a prick and an arsehole? Legoland was closed at the weekend due to a terror threat. What's the big deal? They could just put it back together. And a man in Lincolnshire has been found guilty of having sex with a Staffordshire Bull Terrier. Someone must have squealed. My money is on the dog. I can tell you The Voice is not in our top 3, but after 7 weeks of blind auditions where the judges turn their chairs round, the show's moved on to the battle phase, where viewers turn the channel over. The winner of the first series of The Voice, Leanne Mitchell, is already the answer to Britain's hardest pub quiz question. Yes, Valentine's Day was on Friday. It's estimated 6 million people popped the question on Valentine's Day, and that question was, can we have a threesome? Yes, the trial of Oscar Pistorius continues. This is all just part of Oscar Pistorius' plan to become president of South Africa. He just needs to do 25 years in prison first. Of course, Oscar Pistorius shot his girlfriend last Valentine's Day, so if my girlfriend's watching, suddenly a box of chocolates and flowers from the garage don't look so bad, do they? Kate, William and George are currently on a royal tour. Kate and William took part in the traditional Maori greeting of hongi, which is done by pressing one's forehead against the nose of another. It's also the traditional greeting in Glasgow, although there they do it with much more force. According to a survey, 1 in 3 men live at home. That's nonsense. Everyone lives at home. 1 in 4 Americans have appeared on TV. I'm assuming widescreen. And 55% of people think being associated with charity work makes you seem more attractive, which explains why Pudsey Bear gets all that poontang. In September, Scotland will face a referendum on independence in which they'll be asked to either vote "Och aye" or "Och no." But 34% of people do think they've got a great idea for a business. I'm involved in a business venture that is going to make me millions just as soon as my Nigerian friend emails me back. Well, Justin Bieber's not one of the most talked about things, but Michael Jackson earned $160 million last year and he's dead. I'm just throwing that out there in case anyone's watching from Justin Bieber's record company. Of course, the greatest pop band in history are the Beatles. They came from Liverpool, although you'll already know that if you've ever spoken to anyone from Liverpool for more than 7 seconds. 40% of British people can't identify bird songs. It's simple. It's usually either I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor or Independent Women by Destiny's Child. 15% of Brits think Downton Abbey is the best TV show ever made, and that is a survey of your nan. And 33% of people don't know how to tie a necktie. It's easy. Just wrap it around your neck twice, tuck it in the hole and pull it tight, unless you're Piers Morgan, in which case follow the same steps, but first attach it to a light fitting. My girlfriend asked me to knock something up in the kitchen, and now our cleaner's pregnant. The Winter Olympics in Sochi finished yesterday. After winning the gold medal, Lizzie Yarnold changed her Twitter name to Lizzie Yarn Gold. She was congratulated by her fellow British Olympians Barry Loser and Dave Last Place. 7% of women count sex as a part of their exercise regime. Well, they do when they're with me. All that running away keeps you pretty fit. 54% of published authors earn less than £600 a year. If that's you, here's a tip. Try writing a story about a boy wizard who likes his billionaire boss to tie him up and piss on him. You'll make a killing. And 3% of people claim they can speak fluent Welsh. If that's you, you can go fuck yourself. The Winter Paralympics in Sochi finished yesterday, although Putin has vowed the shooting event will continue until Ukraine surrenders. There's been a revolution in the Ukraine. Thousands of protesters gathered in Kiev's Independence Square. Here's a tip for dictators watching. Don't have a square. And if you do have a square, don't call it Independence Square. Call it Everything's Fine. Move along. Nothing to see square. Of course, traditional Irish dancers have their hands by their sides at all times because their arms have been decommissioned. Well, I can tell you Nick Clegg and Nigel Farage debating Europe is not in our top 3. But their next debate is taking place on BBC Two and not, as I hoped, on a burning platform suspended over a pool of dog shit. 84% of people would use personal contacts to help their child get a job. I hate nepotism. In fact, I'm the chairman of the Anti-Nepotism League, an organisation set up in the 80s by my father. The word dog appears just 14 times in the Bible, but loads more than that if you read it backwards. And a survey's revealed Sunday is the loneliest day for pensioners. If you're a pensioner, don't worry. Someone will be popping round on Monday to cut your heating off. Yes, the best way to impress your in-laws is to make them laugh. Number 9 on the list is admire their house. Oh, this is lovely. I look forward to inheriting this when you're dead. Yes, the biggest sign you're vain is always looking in the mirror. I've got one of those circus mirrors that makes you look all misshapen and disgusting with a massive paunch and a tiny cock. At least I think it's the mirror. 30% of English language students think learning to spell is unnecessary because of autocorrect. Stupid aunts. Yes, the countdown to the World Cup has started. I actually think England have a good chance of winning the World Cup, unless, and this could happen, any of the other teams turn up. But seriously, why stand around in a noisy club getting shunned by attractive women when you can go on Tinder and get turned down in the comfort of your own home? Yes, the top adrenaline rush is going on a roller coaster because nothing gets the heart pumping like travelling 40 feet above the ground in a metal coffin maintained by a 12-year-old scrap metal dealer with tattoos. How was I supposed to hide the fact I lost my virginity from my mum? She was there. Sorry, not my mum, John's mum. The average pub landlord is 2 stone overweight. That's nuts. And beer and crisps and lager and pork scratchings. Border collies are the most intelligent dogs. Yes, when it comes to chasing their own tails, shitting on driveways and sniffing each other's arses, Border collies truly are the Einsteins. And men in the northeast think putting out the bins is the most romantic modern gesture. And why not? For most couples in Newcastle, it was where they had their first date. Yes, the crisis in Ukraine continues. Despite the tensions, the centre of Kiev has returned to normal. A big pool of delicious garlicky butter. I suppose it does depend on your definition of fun. If you mean getting drunk and acting like an idiot, then that's not me. But if your idea of fun is a disappointing evening, followed by awkward sex, apologies and crying, then I'm a really fun guy. 35% of Americans think British accents are attractive. Well, jolly nice of you to say so, fatty. 19% of people who bought Katie Price's latest book, Love, Lipstick and Lies, haven't read it yet. Fine, we haven't read it, she didn't write it, everyone's happy. And 86% of Brits can't name 5 Cs around the world. It's easy. President Putin, he's a massive C. David Cameron, he's a right C. Whoever's running Iran at the moment, total C. Kim Jong-un, absolute C. And Piers Morgan, what a C. Well, I can tell you manners is not in our top 3, but different cultures have different rules. In Thailand, the rudest thing you can do is show someone the soles of your feet. I'm not entirely sure that's true. I've been to Thailand, and you could do much ruder things. Maria Miller has resigned as Culture Secretary. Maria Miller initially apologised to the House and then issued another apology, presumably to her second house. So those were the most talked about things over the last week. But in other news, Michael Gove has announced plans to make GCSEs harder. Right now, the hardest thing in the exam hall is the boys from 4C, when Madame Genevieve, the French teacher, bends over to pick up her pencil. Michael Gove wants to make the school day longer, which would mean that from now on, in a massive change, teachers would have to work up to 8 hours a year. Did you know, for example, a fifth of people kiss their pet on the lips? Which begs the question, where's everyone else kissing their pet? 20% of Brits under 35 believe in the Illuminati. That's silly, we're not real. Sorry, they're not real. Just for me and my friends. 1 in 8 young Brits are either bloggers or vloggers, or in other words, living off mum and dad. And only 26% of men say they'd try a male contraceptive pill. Well, if you want to avoid unplanned pregnancies, here's a tip. Do what I do and just stick to the granny fanny. Right, let's get started. Yes, it's package holidays. Resorts like Magaluf have become a mixture of different cultures. For instance, the most popular breakfast is a croissant washed down with a pint of Zambuca and the morning after pill. Other things Europe has given us. IKEA. I went to IKEA once, never again. I found it very stressful. You know those display toilets don't flush? I love IKEA. It's great for people who want to have a massive, bitter row with their family but can't be bothered to wait until Christmas. And the Olympics. The Greeks invented the Olympics and anal sex. I just can't be bothered with the Olympics. Yes, it's Extinction Rebellion. You might be thinking, how long can these protesters stay camped out in central London? Haven't they got jobs and homes to go to? No, they have not. Yes, Notre Dame. French President Emmanuel Macron looked devastated as he stood next to the 800-year-old crumbling ruin, or Mrs. Macron, as she prefers to be known. She's a little bit older than him. 25 years. So those were the nation's most talked about things. But in other news, it's been revealed Amazon has been flooded with fake 5-star reviews. It's not always easy to spot the fake ones. For years, I thought Catherine's were real.
He means my balls.
I love Amazon. It's so convenient to immediately order anything online with just one click and then wait in all day for it to arrive. Miss the delivery, then have to drive all the way to the post office past the shop you could have bought it from in the first place. Basically, hassle-free. Nigel Farage launched a new Brexit party. If you don't know much about the Brexit party, it's basically the rubbish straight-to-DVD sequel to UKIP. Nigel Farage has a very distinctive look. He looks like someone put Mr. Toad in the microwave. On Wednesday, North Korea tested a new type of guided missile. Kim Jong-un is going to end up in the doghouse, which is his favourite local restaurant. Yes, it's the proposed junk food advertising ban. But how exactly do we define obesity? Well, in simple terms, it's a swelling disease you can only catch from biscuits. If you or any member of your family are affected by issues relating to obesity, then there's a number you can call at the end of the show. Domino's. Did you know, for example, the Queen travels with an entourage of 34 people, including Prince Philip, and 33 people trying to keep Prince Philip alive? 85% of bikini bottoms never get wet. Fair enough. Who gets turned on by fat guys in Speedos? And 60% of the world's largest animals are in danger of going extinct. That's why there's no time to waste. If you want to shoot an elephant, do it now. Don't wait to nail one of those fat slags. What do you think people prefer, Christmas carols or pop songs? What are you going to go for, Rob?
I think pop songs.
Pop songs, what are you going to go for?
I think it's carols.
Pop songs! So I'm with carols with you.
Well, we're outvoted.
You're going carols, you're going pop songs. Well, I can tell you the answer is 70% of our studio audience prefer Christmas pop songs. Band-Aid famously asked, do they know it's Christmas? And the answer is no, so you don't have to get them anything. Yes, it's Theresa May. Theresa May's been Prime Minister since 2016, but it feels like a lot longer. She arrived as Theresa May and will leave as Theresa didn't. Yes, it's the release of the new Avengers movie. We're a bit like the Avengers on this show. I'm obviously a bit like Iron Man, Aisling, she'd be Black Widow, and Rob is the nerdy loser with big teeth that goes to see all the films on his own. Yes, it's the news that the UK could face water shortages in 25 years. The Earth is getting much drier and experiencing hot spells. Basically, Mother Nature is going through the menopause. So those were the most talked about things. But in other news, South Sudan has been named the least happy country in the world. South Sudan, who knew? We all knew. Why did they have that survey? As if South Sudan isn't having a bad enough time that they opened the paper and gone, oh, look, we won something. Oh. It's been announced electric scooters could be allowed on our roads for the first time. They're set to completely revolutionise the way teenagers steal iPhones from pedestrians. Poundland has launched a new range of collagen anti-aging patches. They've also... They've also launched a range of anti-aging biscuits. If you eat enough of them, you won't live past 53. And Peppa Pig was accused of sexism for calling them firemen and not firefighters. Of course, you shouldn't really say firefighters either. The correct term is male stripper. Despite the row over sexism, Peppa Pig is actually very progressive and is currently transitioning into a string of sausages. Okay. Yes, it's Theresa May's Brexit deal. Last week, Theresa May wrote to the EU asking to delay Brexit until the 32nd of February 2011. People are getting worried about Brexit negotiations, but don't worry, guys, we've got Britain's shittest ever Prime Minister on it. Some people call Theresa May a traitor. It's very unfair. She's incompetent, robotic, useless, inflexible, and a dog-shit negotiator. But she's no traitor. Theresa May has got into bed with Jeremy Corbyn, which has annoyed Diane Abbott because that used to be her job. Did you know, for example, 1% of British Christians believe God is female? I think she is. I mean, let's face it, only a woman would create a fine piece of ass like this. Not running the tap when brushing your teeth could save up to 12 litres of water a day. Or if you're Rob Beckett, 1 million litres of water a day. And 2/3 of Brits would want doctors to pull the plug if they were on life support. I know my nana wanted to be kept alive, but I'm afraid she got outvoted. Sorry, Nan. Sorry, Nan. Well, I can tell you the London Marathon is not one of the most talked about things this week. I love the London Marathon. It's the only time of year where you can watch 1,000 white people chasing some black guys and not worry about it being a hate crime. OK, let's have a look and see if our cameras are up there. Yes, indeed, it's using the camera. Personally, I've never sent a dick pic. I do things the old-fashioned way. I send ladies a brass rubbing of my junk. A survey's found more than 1/3 of Brits have taken a selfie at a funeral. I had to take a few. Nana had her eyes closed. So those were the top 3 things people use their mobile phone for. But of course, other uses are booking taxis. Uber planned to launch flying taxis by 2023. Exciting times. Imagine being trapped inside a metal box in the sky with a potential sex offender. Dating apps are all well and good, but there is an issue. Some men create false identities online, and that can be very dangerous for vulnerable 18-year-old cheerleaders like me. I don't want to make a big deal about it, but I recently completed Grindr. The big boss at the end was really hard. Most popular thing, yes. Christmas dinner. Turkey has been a traditional part of Christmas since Victorian times. What people don't realise is just how versatile turkey can be. You can serve it pink, tasteless, dry, undercooked, or burnt. So, worst way to spend a Saturday night?
Drowning. Pretty bad.
It's not what I've got on the card, but it's a very good answer, Rob, yeah.
Worst way for the Saturday, is it... I don't know, what is it? Working?
It's exactly the right answer.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. Yes, the worst way to spend a Saturday night is at work. Saturday night is when a lot of people make most of their money. For example, on Saturday nights, your mum can charge double for a gob job. Did you know, for example, humans share 50% of our genes with bananas? Well, that certainly explains the bend in my penis. And why it turned green that one time. There are over 125,000 stray cats in Istanbul. Finally, a bit of good news for the shish kebab industry. 17% of Brits have had sex on a dining table. Turn over, it's time for pudding. And the average Londoner has 2 best friends, 4 close pals and 5 work buddies, whilst the average Geordie has 2 friends with benefits, 20 friends on benefits, and no work buddies. If you're watching this in Newcastle, well, you can't hear me because it's through a shop window. Yes, it's messaging. I like the way pictures you send disappear on Snapchat. So if I send my girlfriend a photo of my erect penis, it only lasts 10 seconds. Just like the real thing. OK, so let's get some answers on this. Best thing about having the house to yourself. What do you think? What are people... I think, Rich, you were pretty close earlier.
Watching TV?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The best thing about having the house to yourself is you can watch what you want on TV. Yes, the best thing about having the house to yourself is you can watch what you want on TV. My nana's always home alone, or at least she was the last time I checked, but she was sleeping at the bottom of the stairs, so I thought, better not wake her up. Yes, it's European food. European food is incredibly varied, whether you want to have the shits, the squits, the squirts, or the skitters. There's something for everyone. In the 1950s, you could only find olive oil in the chemists, so I guess our nanas were using olive oil as lube. Different types of food are popular in different parts of the country. For example, Brummies love a curry, Geordies enjoy a Chinese, whilst the most popular food in Liverpool is prison. Of course, falling in love. Most young people these days try and find love online with apps like Tinder. If you've never used Tinder, think of it as sort of like Deliveroo for chlamydia. The biggest turn-off for me in a dating profile is when a woman says she's got a couple of kids and you realise one of them is you. A quarter of young people think marriage should be a temporary contract like a mobile phone deal. It's not a bad idea. I'd go for unlimited texts, I'd like to do a bit of roaming, and if I drop her, I'd like an upgrade, no questions asked. So those were the top things to do before you're 30. But also on the list, starting a business. The young woman who lives opposite me has just started her own webcam business. I'm sure she'll be delighted when she finds out. Did you know, for example, 1 in 3 Brits have got BO? So have a look at the person on your left and have a look at the person on your right, and if there's no one there because you stink, it's you. Only 5% of people wash their hands correctly after using the toilet. I do, although I find it quite hard to work up a good lather with those urinal cakes. And 1 in 3 Brits don't know why we celebrate Easter. Well, it's to celebrate Jesus, hatching from a chocolate egg laid by the Easter Bunny. And also double bank holiday bonanza. Thanks, Jesus. OK, best way to cheer yourself up, what do you think?
It'll be love, wouldn't it? Something to do with love.
Have sex is number 4.
Oh, then, like, finish yourself off should be number 2.
You've already got it, Ashley. You got it right. The best way to cheer yourself up is a night out with your friends. To cheer myself up, I sometimes look at the list of the 100 sexiest men. I came number 4, all over a topless photo of Ryan Gosling. Yes, it's Theresa May's Brexit vote. To be fair, this kind of thing happens a lot. My girlfriend and I have a withdrawal agreement, but I keep on not honouring it at the very last minute. Theresa May says the naughtiest thing she ever did was run through a field of wheat. Sounds innocent enough, but the bit she left out was she was chasing an immigrant with a baseball bat whilst coked off her tits. Yes, it's social media. I'm very plugged in when it comes to social media, so if you want me to like your Facebook page, just fax it over to me and I'll see what I can do.
Oh, my God.
Yes, Christmas telly. We all love a bit of Christmas TV, like the time divorce papers were handed to someone from EastEnders. Best Strictly Final ever. If you're a big fan of Doctor Who and you're looking forward to the Christmas special, I don't want to spoil it for you, but grow up, it's a kid show. Did you know, for example, 3 in 10 pet owners sign their animal's name in cards? It's fun in a birthday card, less appropriate in a card which reads, "Sorry for your loss, lots of love, Mr. Mittens." Snails have approximately 25,000 teeth, so a snail might be Rob's real dad. It's especially good because my teeth are so natural. Antarctica is the cleanest place on Earth. Makes sense. Poles do make excellent cleaners. And 63% of people say they'd be comfortable with a gay monarch. So it doesn't matter if it's Queen and Country or Queen and Penisy. Well, I can tell you, Trump's wall is not one of the most talked about things this week. But listen, Mexicans, if Trump does build this wall, you're just going to have to get over it. OK, most common thing people pretend to know about. Dottie, what do you think?
Brexit?
Well, Brexit, when people mention it as well, I can't get into a conversation about this. It changes too often.
Oh, it's a good out. I just piece together headlines that I've read and try and come up with, like, a coherent sentence. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, the backstop is just... 12th May.
Well, I think Dottie's sort of got it, hasn't he?
Politics, Brexit.
That's it.
Yes.
Give me that. Cool. Yes, the most common thing people tend to know about is politics. Everyone should read up about politics. It's incredibly important to know who you pretended to vote for because you slept in on the morning of the election. Of course, Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones has it all. A woman who had a baby with her brother, a man who had his penis chopped off, and a sex-mad dwarf. It's like they remade Jeremy Kyle in Narnia. The big question is, what are Game of Thrones fans going to do when it all ends? I guess start knocking one out to Doctor Who. Did you know, for example, 95% of women say they'd opt for true love over great sex? Sorry, ladies, but on behalf of 100% of men, I'm here to inform you, you're going to have to settle for neither. 78% of singles say they've been ghosted. My nan got ghosted. That's living on your own and a cold winter for you. More than 20% of all British people hate the sound of their own voice, or to put it another way, are from Birmingham. If you're watching this in Birmingham, you can write and complain, but don't call us. Oh. 3/4 of millennials can't defrost a freezer. They get offended by the snowflake symbol and give up. And 12% of Brits have had sex in the sea. Me and my girlfriend regularly have sex in the sea. The A is just for birthdays. Most common New Year's resolution.
Is it about smoking? I feel like that's a really boring one. But people
smoking
try
is
to
number
give
2.
up smoking.
Very close with the gym.
Losing weight.
That's the right answer. Yes, the most common New Year's resolution is to lose weight. The top 3 resolutions are lose weight, do more exercise and stop smoking. So the best thing to do is run down to the shops, buy some cigarettes and eat them. OK. Well, I can tell you the answer is true. 67% of people think baking is sexy. Yeah. Yes, 67% of people think baking is sexy. I agree, my mum's amazing at baking and she's hot. Proper MILF. What? It's all right, it's dead now. I don't know what you're applauding there. I don't know what you're applauding. OK, let's get some answers on this. So, biggest turn-off on a date?
Well, I had someone burp at me on a date once.
What, as he leant in for a kiss, or just...?
No, he just wanted to be rude to me, so he burped at me.
Bad boy.
He slurped his drink, leaned back and went, ugh. Yeah, so I think the biggest turn-off on a date is probably manners.
Well, rudeness?
Well, it's a kind of rudeness. What's causing the rudeness?
Oh, getting drunk. Being pissed. Getting drunk on a date.
That's the right answer. Yeah.
Well done.
Yes, the biggest turn-off on a date is arriving drunk. In my experience, the biggest turn-off on a date is when you get back to hers and you can't wait to get her upstairs, but then it takes ages in the standard stair lift. Really kills the mood. Well, I can tell you the answer is yes. 87% of our studio audience say owning a pet does make you happy. My dog can lick his own balls. So can I, but sadly, he doesn't always let me. Of course, having a pet makes you happier. Nothing brings a bigger smile to my face than opening my front door and seeing little Max bounding through the house to come and greet me. God, I love that horse. Did you know, for example, the Queen has spent 72% of her life on the throne? I'm guessing that'll be IBS. 57% of Brits think children should be taught about orgasms at school. They did it at my school, but weirdly, during PE. And 1 in 5 women talk to their mum at least once a day. And not just women. I talk to your mum at least 3 times a day. Although £3 a minute is expensive. Well, it's to do with communication. What do you think, Maya?
Slang.
A kind of slang, very specific kind of slang.
Tech speak.
Like
Tech
lol.
speak is exactly the right answer.
Yeah, we're back in the game.
Yes, the top thing parents don't understand is tech speak. We just need to make tech speak that parents would actually use. YAD, you're a disappointment. TNM, that's not music. Or TCOHSOJ, they come over here stealing our jobs. So, most people wish their partner was a better dancer. What are you going to say, true or false, Rob?
Yeah, we think yes.
You think yes, you think true, you think false. Well, I can tell you the answer is false. Only 41% of people wish their partner was a better dancer. My girlfriend dances like she makes love with other people. I have 2 left feet. I keep them in my special freezer in the basement.
I'm sorry, I just find, like, the basement thing's funny.
OK, let's get some answers on this. Top superpower.
Is it invisibility?
Absolutely right. Yes, the top superpower people wish they had is invisibility. I know plenty of invisible people, or, as Hollywood calls them, women over 40.
Speak for yourself.
Who said that? Of course, the only scientifically proven way to actually become invisible is to win The Voice. I don't know if it's technically a superpower, but growing up, Rob Beckett was bitten by a radioactive beaver. Yes, indeed, learning to drive. When you're learning to drive, remember the basics. Mirror, signal, crap, I didn't see the cyclist, swerve, crunch, stop, get out, scream, load up the boot, drive, park, dig, bury, pretend it never happened. Easy. 17% of young people don't have a licence, but just use the taxi of mum and dad, which is fine if you're taking your girlfriend to the cinema, but a bit awkward if you want a finger blaster in the car after. OK, so, hardest thing about starting a new job?
Sitting next to Johnny Vegas?
Be careful, it's covered in snot.
Tell me the hardest thing about starting a new job. Genuinely, the hardest thing about starting a new job is going into the staff room for the first time and wondering what mug you can use.
Well, you're quite close to that. It's about a first day thing.
Is it nerves?
Yes, it is. Yes, the hardest thing about starting a new job is first day nerves. And I can tell you the best thing about starting a new job is telling your old boss to go and fuck himself. Well, I can tell you playing games is not one of the top things you do with your phones, but people have developed various injuries from continuously playing games on their mobile phones. You can get tech neck, smartphone finger, and red raw porn penis. Yes, it's Easter. The reason we celebrate Easter is because 2,000 years ago, a man walked on water, got crucified, and then rose from the dead. You couldn't make it up. Oh, no, wait, they did. Yes, it's Meghan Markle. Since getting married to Prince Harry, Meghan has been subjected to a torrent of abuse. But Prince Philip is 97. What are you going to do? Meghan is a lifelong feminist, which she demonstrated by marrying a prince, giving up her job and living in his palace. You go, girl. All right, so what do you think? Do you think you've forgotten everything you learned at school? What do you think, yes or no?
We're going to go no.
OK, no. What do you think, Josh?
Looking at this audience, they've forgotten everything they learned.
Well, I can tell you, the answer is no. 63% of our audience say they haven't forgotten what they learned at school.
Well done to them.
For a lot of people, school was a waste of time, like, for example, Rob's teachers. Did you know 8% of millennials are offended by Christmas decorations? Snowflakes. But also baubles and tinsel. A third of Brits think Lapland is a fictional place. It's not. I've been, and as strip clubs go, it's actually all right. And 1 in 4 Brits don't think snogging is cheating if it's under the mistletoe. But if that mistletoe is part of a vajazzle, it's a different story.
The thing is, you don't need to see that on a fashion catwalk. You can see that any Saturday night in any market town in this country.
Well, I can tell you that fashion is not one of the top 3 things, but my top fashion tip, horizontal stripes can make you look fat, especially if they're the stripes in Viennetta, lasagna and Victoria sponge. OK, most disappointing thing about growing up. I think you almost got it with taxes.
Did I?
Almost.
Oh,
related.
Paying bills?
That's exactly the right answer. Yeah. Of course, these days, a lot of young people save on bills by getting their gas and electric from the same provider, their mum. Also on the list is going grey. I like to think of myself as a bit of a silver fox because my hair is going grey and I shriek like a banshee when I'm fucking. Yes, it's the return of Britain's Got Talent. Ant is the perfect host for Britain's Got Talent because if anyone knows what it's like to be given one chance to impress a judge, it's Ant. OK, I can tell you Julian Assange is not up there, but the Ecuadorian embassy was sad to see Julian Assange go because it proved quite handy to have someone there over the weekends to sign for packages. can tell you backpacking is not one of the top things to do before you're 30, but backpacking around the world is incredible for anyone who enjoys holidays but wishes there was a bit more waking up in an ice bath, missing your kidneys action. Come on, let's get some answers on this.
Doing the dishes, that's my guess.
That is the exact right answer. Yes, the worst thing about cooking for friends is washing up after. I bought a dishwasher recently, but it's always breaking down because I won't let it go back to Thailand to visit her kids. OK, let's get some answers on this. So, Rob, most people consider themselves body confident, true or false?
I don't think they are. I think people, even if they were, would be scared to say they were.
Catherine, what do you think? True or false?
True. I would like to think that it's true.
OK, you're saying true. I can tell you the answer is true. 56% of people do consider themselves to be body confident. I'm body confident in that I'm incredibly confident the police are not going to find that body. Yes, European culture. 6 million visitors see the Mona Lisa in Paris every year. If I want to see a miserable woman looking disappointed, I could just stay home and have sex. OK, so worst things about the gym. Let's get some proper answers. What do you think?
Smells like crutch.
That's what I like about it.
Oh, the money, the joining fee?
I'll give you that. That is close enough. It is paying but not going to the gym. Yes, the worst thing about the gym is paying but not going. Paying for the gym but not using the gym is a massive waste, just like the massive waste around the middle of people who pay for the gym but don't go. So we asked the jury audience, most people secretly hate karaoke, true or false? What do you think?
I think that's false. I think people like it, don't they?
Yeah.
OK, so you're saying false. What do you go for, Catherine?
We think it's true.
OK. I can tell you the answer is true. 60% of our audience secretly hate karaoke. OK. I love karaoke. It's basically X Factor, but for people whose backstory is too tragic even for ITV. Yes, indeed, the number one thing. People want to move out of their parents' house. Even at the age of 26, my mum did all my washing. I remember sitting in the bath thinking, Mum, I'm 26, I'm old enough to wash it on my own now.
Is the worst thing you can do talking to the driver, Jimmy? Because there's a sign that says don't talk to the driver, but that makes it a forbidden fruit. And I just want to know what's going on with him.
It is to do with talking.
Talking on your phone?
That's the right answer.
Oh. Yes!
Yes, the worst thing to do on public transport is talk loudly on the phone. And that's a survey of people who've never seen a drunk guy on a night bus shit in a carrier bag. Well, I can tell you Piers Morgan is not on the list, but Piers Morgan has 6.5 million followers on Twitter, which makes him Britain's most popular unpopular person. Okay, best way to surprise your other half. Let's get some answers. What do you think?
Trip away? A little holiday?
Literally it. That's book a weekend away is the exact right answer. Yes, the best way to surprise your partner is to book a weekend away. I booked a weekend away and my girlfriend was very surprised because she thought she was coming too. Yes, it's Christmas presents. Last year I got my girlfriend a puppy for Christmas. It was so cute. I even put it in a little box with a big bow on it. My mistake was sending it second class. I like unusual presents. Last year, I bought my nan a lifetime supply of Werther's Originals, which turned out to be 3 packets of Werther's Originals. Well, I can tell you that Prince William's work experience at MI5 is not one of the most talked about things, but getting work experience at MI5 isn't as hard as you might think. All you need is a reference, a CRB check, and for your nan to be the fucking queen. Yes, the most annoying habit is someone always being on their phone. Some people are just plain rude on the phone. My nan called the other day to say, help, help, I've fallen down there, and then just went quiet. I hung up. I haven't got time for games. On the 90s TV show Blind Date, you chose a person based on the sound of their voice. Silly, really. Now we have Naked Attraction, where you just pick your favourite cock and balls. Yes, the new series of Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is set in Westeros, a lawless country full of poverty, violence and dragons, like an upmarket Wales. Yes, it's Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a man of the people, and those people are rich Republicans with assault rifles and an irrational fear of Mexicans. Did you know, for example, 68% of men say that when it comes to women, they like to have something to hold on to, like her ankle when she tries to leave. Over 50% of Brits have never tasted English wine. You don't know what you're missing unless you've ever sucked lemon juice out of a cat's arse. And 24% of men think Simon Cowell is the best-dressed man in Britain. That's probably because he spends so much time in his massive closet. OK, let's see if Julian Assange is up there. Julian Assange is seeking political asylum at the Ecuadorian embassy. I wonder if the Ecuadorian embassy has got room for two.
Yeah, did you say room for two or a room for two? Oh, like Bert and Ernie in a bed together.
We've all made mistakes. So those were the most talked about stories this week. But in other news, the Eurozone crisis was discussed at length this week at the G20 summit. Europe is being held to ransom by the short and curlies, or Greeks as they're otherwise known. Gary Barlow's been given an OBE. In the same week, he's been accused of avoiding millions in tax. I tell you what, I wouldn't want to be in his shoes right about now. China's sent their first female astronaut into space. So what you like about China, they'll do anything to get rid of girls. And there are just 35 days to go until the London 2012 Olympics. The sweat, the pain, the physical endurance, people pushing themselves above and beyond their limits. That, to me, is what travelling on the Underground during the Olympics is all about. Yes, David Cameron and Nick Clegg relaunched the coalition this week. David Cameron attempted some political spin by claiming what you call austerity is what I might call efficiency. Sure, and what you call a government is what we might call a fucking shambles.
I like how a chief economist in the UK has said that the missing link within the British economy is a lack of confidence. So I think I know what George Osborne should do. He should just draft in Gok Wan. He's good with confidence, isn't he? And he just get the economy, tell her she's got awesome bangers, whack her in a wrap dress from Dorothy Perkins, so away we go! He's sorted!
It's a good idea, but I worry it will end with George Osborne naked in a shop window somewhere. Yeah. So you look fabulous. It's all about the confidence. So those were the most talked about stories this week. But in other news, Roy Hodgson has picked his squad to win the Euros. It's Spain. It's the Eurovision Song Contest this weekend. The host country, Azerbaijan's human rights are being criticised. Amnesty International say they have an absolutely appalling record. Well, just wait until they hear Engelbert Humperdinck's. And Britney Spears has been confirmed as a new judge on the American X Factor. Britney's nervous about it. The last time she was in a room with that many judges, they were taking her kids away. For Man City, the feeling of your team winning the league after 44 years is something money can't buy, unless you count the 900 million you've just spent on players. Yes, it's the Queen's Diamond Jubilee this weekend. The Queen recently made a statement renewing her vow to serve the nation. Prince Charles also made a statement saying, "Oh, for fuck's sake." Yes, the top way to prove your masculinity is being good at DIY. Being good at DIY certainly makes me feel more masculine. I built my own sauna, invited the guys round. It was hot. Did you know, for example, 7% of people don't wear underwear? Sadly, though, it's not the 7% of people you hoped. 1 in 4 British people have never been to Wales or Scotland, and those people are known as employers. And 8% of men want to marry a teacher. I used to go out with a teacher. If I wanted to have sex, she always insisted I put my hand up first. Yes, the best way to reduce stress is exercise. I've got loads of those squidgy little things you can squeeze in your fist when you're feeling stressed. Hamsters. Yes, the London mayoral elections are next week. In order to be fully impartial, we have to mention the other candidates. So, for the record, Brian Paddock and Jenny Jones are also shit. A 19-year-old from Chorley has had the face of Boris tattooed on his leg. It was all a misunderstanding. He asked for an anchor. Do you want to have a look at this tattoo? It's a genuine thing. He's had a tattoo of Boris. Have a look.
That's right.
What a good tattoo, though. What a good piece of artwork that is.
Always seeing the positive. That's what we like about you.
It is.
Yeah, nice. You know what
I'd
you
like
can
to have Sean Locke tattooed on my back. Because he's my favourite comedian.
He's your favourite comedian?
Sorry. Yeah, at the moment.
Really?
A picture of Sean Locke on your back?
Yeah,
That'd be slightly off-putting for me later.
Yeah.
Roy Hodgson is the new England manager. Hodgson is multilingual. He knows the English, Norwegian, Swedish, Japanese and Finnish for the phrase, "I'm sorry, we just lost 2-0 to the Ukraine." Yes, Virgin Atlantic have announced plans to allow mobile phone calls on flights. Ryanair are developing their own version. It's a phone box at the back of the plane that doubles as a toilet. You know, like a normal phone box. Yes, it's the final of Britain's Got Talent this Saturday. Talisa performed her new single on Britain's Got Talent this week. I missed the show, so I watched it on the internet. I thought it was great. Although, at one point, I thought she was going to choke on that microphone. He mentioned, like, every 2 sentences he goes, "When I was talking to Elvis." Yeah. I mean, I don't know how well he knew him, but I know they haven't spoken since 1977. Get over it. Right, let's get some answers. So most people would rather play video games than go to the park. True or false? You're saying?
False, I think.
You say false? What do you think?
True, I think it's false.
That is true. Luckily, I'm in charge.
OK.
True.
You're going true. OK. I can tell you the answer is false. Only 30% of people would rather play video games than go to the park.
Over now.
There's not really much difference between playing a video game and going down the park with a girl. It's all about learning the right finger combinations. And if you don't know them, just rub all the buttons as fast as you can. I'm ashamed to even look your way, Tess. I apologise.
Look at me now. That was movement. That was...
What?
Accomplished.
Just put it in upside down.
Oh.
I can tell you that the Leveson inquiry is not in our top 3. But David Cameron told the inquiry there was no nod and a wink arrangement between the Tories and News International, whilst vigorously nodding and winking. Yes, the worst thing about owning a pet is cleaning up after it. Here's a tip. When you take your dog out for a walk, instead of using a lead, put it on a guide dog harness. That way, when it shits on the pavement, you can pretend you didn't see it. But before we get to that, 15% of prisoners are on drugs. How do they get hold of so many drugs in prison? I guess they're smuggled in by some arsehole. Yeah, bum jokes still work. Good news. The average Brit spends 121 hours sitting on the toilet every year, which is about 20 minutes a day if you can work it out, or 40 minutes a day if you can't work it out. And Mexico City is the worst place in the world to be a commuter, especially for me. I work in Shepherd's Bush. Yes, indeed. The Voice is a revolutionary take on the TV talent show. It's the new Britain's Got Talent, which was the new X Factor, which was the new Pop Idol, which was the new Pop Stars The Rivals, which was the new Opportunity Knocks, which I think Tom Jones won. The Voice aims to take total nobodies and make them household names, like Danny from The Script. If you're honest, did you know who Danny was?
Yes, I did.
What's your favourite Script song? It seems to be such a big selling point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Chair spin round, it's a big deal.
It's quite exciting at first.
I don't think it's part of the format. I think it was in Tom's contract, because his hips are so bad he can't turn round anymore. It took so long, they put the chairs in. After the show, they put wheels and handles on it and take him home.
Is the show better if I did... Oh, I heard you, and then I didn't know what you looked like, and then I turned around. Yes, indeed, the most talked about thing. Yes, a dancing dog has won this year's Britain's Got Talent. Podsy's owner scooped the winning prize and a turd off the judge's desk. Most Brits judge other people by their shoes. True or false?
There's those generic shoes, aren't there? There's those shoes like everyone wears, Converse. So how can you judge? I mean, millions of people wear those. Or Ugg boots. Loads of people wear Ugg boots.
What are you saying, Sean?
False.
You think false? What do you think, Sean?
True. 100% true.
It's 100% true. Okay, you're going true, you're going false. I can tell you the answer...
I was going to say 99% true, Jimmy.
OK, I can tell you the answer is false. Only 45% of people judge others on their shoes. 45%, though. Not a lot. I went shoe shopping with my girlfriend. I asked her, which ones do you want? She told me Jimmy Choos. So I said, all right, get the cheap ones. You can tell a lot about a woman from her shoes. For example, if they're behind her ears, she likes you. Yes, England are through to the quarter-finals of Euro 2012. A series of psychic animals have been asked to predict the results. The Ukrainians have a ferret called Fred, the Germans are relying on an elephant called Nelly, and the English have a striker called Wayne. Yes, the worst thing about going to the gym is the smell of sweat. There's one guy down my gym, I wish he'd take a shower. He's got a lovely body.
That's how you sound to Southerners. You think you sound very eloquent, soft-spoken. The very poetry of the lakes are in your voice, but I see you sound like that. I'm gonna get hold of you. Just 19. Time for Uncle John to teach you.
I don't know what
a few tricks. I've got a few tricks to show you.
What's the form if someone gets possessed by the ghost of Bernard Manning? Is there someone we could call? Do we need a priest?
Oh no, it's happening again! 19, are you 19? Are you 19? Go with him. You start doing the voice and you think you can stop your card. It's a lot of fun to do. Oh, it's all right. I don't like it when he comes back at you. Oh, when he comes back, I don't like it.
Yes, the top thing people feel guilty about is wasting money. I feel guilty about all the money I've wasted on legal fees trying to get Keira Knightley to drop a restraining order, which could have been better spent digging a tunnel into Natalie Portman's house. Yes, the Olympic torch has arrived in Britain. will.i.am carried the torch through Taunton on Monday. will.i.am's actually got relatives in the West Country. Well, I never, and will I fuck. Did you know, for example, 33% of Brits say they like their smartphone as much as they like sex. For me, they're both similar, about 5 inches long, and they've seen more than their fair share of angry birds. Meerkats are able to recognise each other by voice alone. How do they manage it? Well, it's complicated. And 43% of people say they've made love in a car. I know I have. I'll tell you what, if my car could talk, I'd be David Hasselhoff. Yes, Britain is back in recession. The recession risks catapulting Britain back to the 1970s, or in the case of Scotland, forward to the 1970s. OK, well, I can tell you the answer is false. 54% of people would rather go to the theatre than a theme park. Sean gets the point. For me, the best thing about going to the theatre is the ice cream. Personally, I'm bored of paying a regular price for a reasonable amount. What I want is 2 scoops for £6. I'm very careful to keep my phone on silent in the theatre. The last thing I want is to be woken up. Yes, doctors are due to strike on Thursday, the 21st of June. So, ladies, if you're watching in Newcastle, don't forget to pick up 2 morning after pills on the 20th. OK, these are all very... I'm going to give you a clue, OK? A lot of people are doing it at the moment. If they're on honeymoon at the moment, they're doing this.
Is it watching football?
That's the right answer. The least romantic thing to do on your honeymoon is watch football. In my own relationship, sex is a bit like football. My girlfriend hates it, and I much prefer doing it in the park with a bunch of guys. I can tell you the answer is yes. 55% of our audience did think there should be a tax on junk food. Sean gets the point. Sorry, Tony. There are proposals to put a 20% tax on junk food. Fat people are already planning a demonstration. They're going to be holding a waddle from Westminster to the McDonald's just around the corner from Westminster. Yes, the Murdochs have been giving evidence to the Leveson inquiry. It's been a bad week for the Culture Secretary, Jeremy Hunt. He's now Cockney rhyming slang for himself. David Cameron and James Murdoch had 8 breakfasts together between 2006 and 2009. It doesn't sound too pally until you realise they were breakfasts in bed. Yes, the top event British people wish they'd witnessed is England winning the World Cup. Everyone was so pleased that England won the World Cup in 1966, I'm surprised we never tried to win it again. Yes, Google have been accused of stealing private information and flouting civil liberties. Google can now access your entire web history. I'm not worried, but whoever keeps using my computer while my girlfriend's at work could be in a lot of trouble. Okay, top way to prove your masculinity. Reg, what do you think? What's the best way to prove you're a man?
Do what you want to do. Just walk down the street and be unaware of or not care if people look at you. Make sure that when you go somewhere, you're going to where you want to go. And when you get there, make sure you only stay as long as you want to stay. And then when you're done, come on back and go wherever you want to go. And then after a while, people will be always like, wow, you do what you want to do. You must be a man.
I'm going to do it, Reg. I'm going to do it. I'm going to follow your lead.
Yeah.
I am what I am. My own special creation. So come take... No. The whole song, that was quite happy. I decided to stop because I was too worried about what people would think. Did you know, for example, each day the UK produces enough rubbish to fill the Albert Hall 12 times over? Some of the rubbish that's managed to fill the Albert Hall in the past includes Simply Red, The Lighthouse Family and James Blunt. Instead of exercising, 7% of women wear body-shaping underwear like Spanx. So instead of having a body shaped like a pear, they have a body shaped like 2 pairs in a sock. And 20% of Brits who viewed a house in the last year felt the same thrill as when meeting a new lover. I know what they mean. The last time I went house hunting, I came away with a semi. Yes, the battle between The Voice and Britain's Got Talent continues. The concept behind The Voice is that the judges can't see who's singing, which is a great idea because it stops people like Susan Boyle cruising through on their good looks. Yes, the London mayoral race has been in the news. At the time of recording this, we don't know the results, but someone is the new mayor of London. I personally love the local elections. It's the only day I'm allowed within 100 yards of my local primary school. It's the best thing about being a pensioner is not having to work. Of course, in the north of England, some grannies have to work well into their 30s. So most people would rather communicate with their friends online than face-to-face. True or false?
It's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
You're saying true? OK, what are you going to say, Sean?
I think it's false.
Yeah, false.
OK. I can tell you the answer is false. Only 18% of people would rather communicate with their friends online. I'd rather communicate with friends on Facebook because friends don't seem to like it when you go around to their house and ask to look at photos of their wife in a bikini. That is what it's for. OK, I can tell you the answer is false. Only 25% of people have a signature dance move. I do a great Michael Jackson impression on the dance floor. All I need is a young volunteer who can keep a secret. Louis.
I'll stick my neck out and say the shit.
Yeah. You don't like the...
No, I don't like them. Said it, I said it.
I wondered when...
It's out there now.
Because it's been in the news a lot this week. It's a return to the 1970s, and I wondered, is that why you're wearing that? Yes, the top animal people wish could speak is a dog. Scientists spent years in laboratories trying to teach a dog to speak, but it only ever managed to say 4 words. Please stop electrocuting me. Did you know, for example, 8% of people smoke after sex? I always smoke after sex. That's friction for you. Bees collect 20 kilograms of pollen a year. I wonder what they're going to do with all those nectar points. And 25% of men say they can tell if a woman is faking an orgasm. My girlfriend doesn't fake it. Last week, she told me that she had the most mind-blowing orgasm of her life. God, I wish I'd been there. Yes, there's been travel chaos at Heathrow. Because of the queues, terrorists are being urged to delay the timers on their bombs by an extra 3 hours. 85% of British people think a quirky obsession makes a person more interesting. My aunt spends 14 hours a day cleaning. She's a cleaner. Yes, the government have announced a U-turn on taxing pasties, pies and charitable donations. Insiders suspect that David Cameron has done a deal with Greggs. A steak bake, soft drink and crisps for $2.99. Yes, details of the Olympic opening ceremony have been revealed. So, in the London 2012 opening ceremony, there'll be 70 sheep, 12 horses, 3 cows, 2 goats, 10 ducks and 3 dogs. In Beijing, that was just the buffet. Yes, the USA have foiled a terrorist attempt to take down a plane with a bomb hidden inside a man's underwear. I don't know how the detonator on a pants bomb works, but I really hope you get to say, pull my finger. So those were the most talked about stories this week. But in other news, the countdown to the Olympics continues. At the Olympics, there are going to be missiles on the top of tower blocks, snipers in helicopters, Top Gun pilots ready to shoot down planes, and a warship on the Thames. So just relax and make sure you have fun. It's official. We're having the wettest spring on record. Despite the rain, it wasn't all doom and gloom. Some cricket matches got cancelled and a caravan park was flooded. A 78-year-old man from Sussex is having a sex change. Good luck and everything, but I think even Match.com are going to struggle with that. And on BBC Scotland this week, Prince Charles made an appearance reading the weather. He was such a natural weather forecaster that afterwards he immediately went out and shagged Sven-Goran Eriksson. 20% of people say doing nothing is their perfect weekend. We've all got our perfect weekend. I'd love to lie in bed all day on a Saturday, preferably Molly or Frankie. 1 in 3 iPad owners use it on the toilet. Of course, they're fully backed up, so plenty of time to use their iPad. And 26% of British couples enjoy role play. My girlfriend loves role play. Her favourite is when she plays the role of a middle-aged woman with a headache. Yes, Greece is on the verge of leaving the euro. The good news is this is boom time for Athens. The bad news is that boom is a petrol bomb hitting a bank. This is likely to be the messiest Greek withdrawal since George Michael heard a policeman outside his cubicle.
I don't shop in Primark. I absolutely will not go in there.
Have you been barred? Only 33% of people found their wedding day more stressful than enjoyable. It's really stressful getting married. You've got the flowers, the venue, the dress, the food and the disco to sort out. And then you've got to find a girl who's willing to say those magic words. Mr. Jimmy, I need a passport. OK, so you're both saying yes. Well, I can tell you the answer is yes. 83% of our studio audience think 30 is too old to live with your parents. Take your point. I moved back in with my parents when I was 30 because I was saving up for a deposit to pay for a hitman to kill them so I could inherit the house. Yes, Euro 2012. At the time of recording, we don't know the result of the England-Sweden match. So to be safe, I'll do 2 versions. Bad luck, England, and well done, Sweden.
I don't know, is it you're overweight?
I'll give you that. That is near enough. Yes, the worst thing to say, according to the survey, to someone who's just been dumped is, maybe you should go on a diet. It's much better to say there's plenty more fish in the sea. Well, there were, but it looks like you've eaten most of them. With chips. Yes, Francois Hollande is the new French president. Hollande has said that Britain treats Europe like a cash machine. Yeah, well, you know what our PIN number is? 1945. Did you know, for example, 25% of couples say they experiment in the bedroom? We do. Last week, we put the chest of drawers next to the window and the cupboard over by the shoe rack. I like to keep it fresh. 35% of single women worry they've missed the boat by holding out for Mr. Perfect. Don't worry, ladies, you can have Mr. Perfect if that's what you call one of your many cats. And 1 in 10 people would rather meet a date online first. If you think chatting online lets you get to know the real person before a date, you've clearly never turned up at an amusement arcade clutching a bunch of balloons, only to discover you've been chatting to an undercover child protection officer, who fortunately was a big fan of the show, so it all turned out OK. Yes, this week MP said Rupert Murdoch is an unfit boss. Where's Murdoch now? He's in the Bridge Cafe deciding which 2 people to bring back into the boardroom. Meanwhile, the guys that run the Mirror have gone salsa dancing as Lord Sugar's treat. Yes, doctors were on strike over their pensions yesterday. Health Secretary Andrew Lansley has asked the doctors to scale back their demands, cease industrial action, and to take a look at a rash he's afraid to show his wife. Best thing about staying in a hotel.
Room service.
The right answer. Yes, the best thing about staying in a hotel is room service. Number 4 on the list is the minibar. I love the minibar. Nothing says I'm on holiday like spending £15 on a can of Coke. It's been alleged that Travolta propositioned the man for sex. Well, that's not quite how he put it. He actually said, "Will you touch my rama-lama-lama, ka-diggity-ding-de-dong," before suggesting they move to the bedroom for some shoo-bop, shoo-waddy-waddy, ippity-boom-de-boom. Yeah. What's better, Geordie Shore, Towie or Made in Chelsea? That's a bit like saying, what's more fun to catch, TB, diphtheria or rickets? Yes, due to EU legislation, UK prisoners may now be given the right to vote. If you're watching this from prison and you think voting is so brilliant, you need to get out more. You're trying to arrange a play date with your 3-year-old and that. Look at him. He looks like a photo fit.
Yeah, he's right.
Yes, it was Eurovision on Saturday. During Jedward's performance, a spectacular stunt using a water feature went tragically wrong, drowning neither of them. Yes, Rebecca Brooks has been charged with perverting the course of justice. It's been tough for Rebecca Brooks recently. It can't have been easy trying to keep the frizz out of that hair with all this rain. Did you know, for example, the average amount of money left by the Tooth Fairy is 88 pence? And that's because she was made bankrupt by Rob Beckett. Yeah, we're going in early. 1 in 5 Brits never carry cash. I'm 100% contactless, and by that I mean lonely. Quite easy to manipulate, aren't they? Hoovering typically burns around 50 calories, which begs the question, why is your mum so fat? Is it because your house is filthy? Just like your mum. Right, let's get started. Yes, the worst thing about going to weddings is it's expensive. There are ways of saving money at weddings, though. Just go up to the pile of presents, pick the biggest one, and where it says from, just write, and Jimmy. Yes, the best way to treat yourself is to go on holiday. I took my nana on her first ever flight recently. She said she couldn't really deal with all the pressure. I said, I'm not trying to pressure you, Nan. I'm just saying this is probably your last chance to join the Mile High Club. Christmas TV and film. I love Christmas TV. There's nothing better than sitting down to watch a film you've seen countless times before with people you can no longer stand. So those were the nation's favourite things about the festive season, but also on the list, decorations. We've got a Christmas tree in our office, but we're very sensitive to other faiths, so we've had it circumcised and put it in a burqa. New Year's Eve. I love New Year's Eve, drinking excessively, vomiting everywhere, and then getting a bit handsy in a dark corner. Next year, I must invite people around. And last Christmas, we had loads of carolers outside our house. They had flaming torches and were singing a carol I'd never heard before, something about pedos out, pedos out. It was absolutely delightful. Well, I can tell you, losing your phone is not one of our top fears, but when it comes to new technology, I have to admit I'm a little bit behind the curve. I only found out my pager had stopped working when I read about it on CFAX. Last year, the Mueller report cleared Trump of collusion with Russia, which was great news for Trump, and even better news for his boss, Putin. 73-year-old Donald Trump is up for re-election later this year. It's not something I thought I'd find myself saying, but come on, prostate cancer. So those were the nation's most popular talking points, but in other news, schools have begun giving out free sanitary towels. Nothing new. We had free periods back when I was in school. And Prince Andrew may lose his 24-hour security detail, which I don't think will bother him because he's never allowed to leave the house again. You can say what you like about Prince Andrew, but... No, apparently you can't. We lost a classic American hero last week in Kirk Douglas. Wouldn't it be great if Donald Trump could be more like Kirk Douglas? Dead. Yes, the scariest thing about the future is getting old. I'm not worried about getting older, although I suspect I'll start thinking more about it when I turn 30. Oh, fuck you. Did you know, for example, 66% of the human body is made up of water, unless that human body is your mum's, in which case, it's biscuits. 3% of the UK think they have superpowers. I have a superpower. I can levitate. Well, not completely, just my tinkle. Only when I'm looking at other tinkles. And toilets use up to 35% of your home's total water consumption. That's why, to save water, I go to the toilet in the shower. Although it can be tricky pushing it through the plug hole. Yes, it's Love Island. In the age of Me Too and political correctness, Love Island is essentially ITV2's way of saying, go on, treat yourself, have a wank. Donald Trump. Sending Donald Trump to a climate change conference makes about as much sense as sending Mary Berry to Love Island. Trump's impeachment has started, but the question is Trump guilty? And the answer is yes. Yes, he is. I like Trivial Pursuit because I always get the questions right. Shall we play Trivial Pursuit? No. Correct. OK, well, I can tell you the answer is false. 73% of people would date a colleague. There's nothing sexier than secretly dating someone at work, exchanging illicit glances and calling each other by your secret pet names, whilst your colleagues don't suspect a thing. Isn't that right, Big Knob Rob? Meghan Markle has unfairly got a reputation for being a bit of a diva, but royal insiders say she's only ever made one demand. Don't leave her alone with Prince Andrew. Oh, well, I can tell you, dating apps are not one of the best inventions of the last decade, but dating apps are amazing. It's like someone looked at Deliveroo and thought, this is great, but would it work for chlamydia? Tinder has significantly streamlined the dating experience. It now takes less time than ever to get to the point in a relationship where I'm sitting on the end of the bed in tears, apologising with a wet leg. Why is everyone so worried about the Chinese listening to our conversations? Just don't speak in Chinese. So those were the nation's most popular talking points, but in other news, it's been revealed that HS2 is going to cost £106 billion. It's the biggest waste of money since your mum bought that treadmill. Following our withdrawal from the EU, the pound is now worth less. Sorry, I've read that wrong. The pound is now worthless. Luckily, in the playground, I knew how to make the bullies laugh by tickling their balls with my tongue. Did you know, for example, 2/3 of human communication is by gesture, not speech? Sounds about right. People are always waving at me. All right, Jimmy? More than half of Brits enjoy meat substitutes, or as they're more commonly known, dildos. And 63% of British women say size does matter. So if you're a man with a small penis, little tip, and little shaft, I'd imagine.
We're going to say true.
OK, so I can tell you the answer is false. Only 36% of people think their life would make a good reality TV show. A friend of mine got on that reality TV show, One Born Every Minute. She was absolutely dilated. I don't like virtual assistants. If I want to talk to someone vaguely human, made out of plastic with a woman's voice, I'll just chat to Catherine. Some virtual assistants can't understand thick regional accents. I know how they feel. It's been 4 series, and I still don't know what that Cockney horse is saying. So those were the nation's favourite inventions, but also on the list, drones. Drones are used to deliver parcels, packages, and death from above to Iranian generals. And contactless payment. Even my nana's gone totally contactless. Now she's in a home, no one visits her. It's a joke, she's dead. My nan actually died of a heart attack, and I'll never forget it because it was the same day I bought her an air horn. Well, I can tell you, Prince Andrew was not one of the most talked about people of the last year, but the biggest unanswered question of the Epstein scandal is how did paedophiles with dirt on the royal family get so good at killing themselves? Turns out the Grand Old Duke of York had 10,000 punchline redacted for legal reasons. Well, I can tell you it's not one of the most talked about things, but Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world, which I'm sure will be a great comfort to him when his dismembered body parts are being stuffed into a series of duffel bags by Saudi security services. Well, I can tell you Love Island is not one of the most talked about things, but contestant Connor opened up about having a threesome on a first date. I finally persuaded my girlfriend to have a threesome. I can't wait to hear how it went. OK, the Oscars, everyone. The Oscars. That's right, we're talking about the Oscars. I can tell you the Oscars is not one of the most talked about things, but this year women and minorities cleaned up at the Oscars, but only after all the stars had left. Parasite swept the board at the Oscars. It's a Korean film with subtitles, which means, sadly, Rob will never get to enjoy it. Well, I can tell you that exams are not one of the most memorable things about school, but remember, if you do cheat in exams, ultimately, there's only one person you're cheating. The head of the exam board. Fuck him. Did you know, for example, 44% of vegans live alone? I'm not surprised. You can only open so many windows. 40% of Brits wouldn't give up their seat for a pregnant woman. I got into trouble when I offered my seat to someone I thought was pregnant. Turned out, just fat. He was livid. And 2% of Brits connect to the internet using a dongle. I almost broke my dongle using the internet. It completely overheated and started leaking. Turns out it was a virus. Yes, the worst thing to do at the office Christmas party is tell your boss what you really think of them. A popular tradition at the office Christmas party is kissing under the mistletoe. But be careful, it can lead to fingering under the boardroom table. The world is facing a catastrophic pandemic. There have been over 2,000 cases of bubonic plague reported in Madagascar. But the good news is, Madagascar. So those were the top 3 things Brits are afraid of. But let's not forget fear of clowns. Big silly grin, bulging eyes and orange hair. Rob, are you scared of clowns? Big rubber face, silly clothes and a fake nose. Catherine, are you scared of clowns? Our dinner ladies at school weren't a great bunch, but there was one DILF. I wouldn't have minded putting a toad in her hole. Well, I can tell you, selfie sticks are not one of the best inventions of the last decade, but where would we be without camera phones? Well, probably in snappy snaps, awkwardly explaining why we've asked them to develop 24 pictures of our gentleman junk. Yes, the worst thing about living with housemates is them not doing their share of the housework. I think I do my share of the housework, but my girlfriend claims pissing skid marks off the toilet bowl doesn't count. In with a bullet. Boris gave the Conservatives their biggest ever majority, which was lucky, because if there's one thing the Conservatives can't stand, it's minorities. Did you know, for example, 15% of British men own a man bag? My uncle carries a man bag everywhere. Always has, ever since his prostate operation went wrong. 25% of Brits say they'd like to be in the royal family. Well, that's good timing, because there's currently 2 vacancies. Probably a third before the end of the year. You've got options on who that punchline is about. And within 6 months of a pet dying, half of all owners get another one. When my dog died, I had him stuffed, so it feels like he's still here. I mean, the sex isn't the same, but still. I know a great way to keep a secret. It doesn't always work, but you could try having Jeffrey Epstein killed. Well, I can tell you, Tracy Brabin's off-the-shoulder dress was not one of the most talked about things this week, but Tracy Brabin has received an incredible amount of support, mainly from her strapless bra. Well, I can tell you, Christmas presents are not up there, but this year, I'm going to get my girlfriend a terminally ill puppy. That way, she gets a dog, but it is just for Christmas.
It's gonna die anyway!
OK, so, well, Joe, you were pretty much there. It's what your mum taught you.
Cooking.
Cooking is exactly right.
Cooking?
Yeah. Yes, the most useful thing most Brits learn from their parents is how to cook. Also on the list is how to shave. Thanks, Mum. Never been smoother. Yes, it's the Masked Singer. The Masked Singer is South Korea's second most popular TV format after The Dog's Bollocks, their #1 rated cooking show. People have different accents in different places in the country. People from Liverpool have a Scouse accent, people from Newcastle have a Geordie accent, whereas I speak properly. Yes, the coolest job is being a spy. The best thing about being a spy is that you get to die of Novichok, which is what's going to kill Eamon Holmes. Novichok, and then Novichok, and then Novichok. Did you know, for example, nearly 1/3 of people don't read instruction manuals, and the results can be catastrophic? I set my penis pump to blow instead of suck, and now I've got an innie. 57% of Brits think World War III is likely in the next 10 years. But will I be able to enjoy World War III if I haven't seen the first two? And 20% of Brits are happy to eat things that are well past their use-by date, which I think means Grandad still gives Nana a treat from time to time. The answer is false. Only 39% of people have avoided going to the doctor because they were too embarrassed. I went to the doctor and showed him my penis. I asked, is there anything I can get for this? He said, I don't know, a tiny vagina? My doctor told me I had a micro penis. I said, I want a second opinion. He said, it's also a weird shape. Britain is no longer in Europe, but what we are in is deep shit. Now Britain has finally left the EU, politicians are free to focus on important things, like working out how to get Britain back into Europe. Of course, we all support Philip Schofield. It's just hard to process how Dancing on Ice could somehow get even gayer. Yes, the best thing about being single is the freedom. Yes, freedom to make a microwave biryani meal for one and come on your tummy with a finger up your bum. On I'm a Celeb in 2018, Joe Swash was taken to hospital when a cockroach lodged itself in his ear. It was one of the worst experiences of my life, said the cockroach. Did you know, for example, 17% of Brits think it's acceptable to go outside in your pyjamas? I popped out in my pyjamas the other day. My girlfriend said, pop yourself back in, Jimmy. 1 in 20 Brits say they openly pick their nose. I saw Catherine pick her nose out of a catalogue. 1 in 3 men say they never dance. They say you can tell how someone has sex from the way they dance. That's why I only ever dance alone in my room whilst wearing one of my dead mum's dresses. Yes, it's Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina-scented candle. Gwyneth Paltrow so up herself, and so are her candles. Gwyneth Paltrow's got married again recently. Who's the lucky fellow? Chris Martin. He's well shot of her. Well, I can tell you the school bus is not up there, but the back of the bus was always the cool bit. I never really understood what Rosa Parks was so annoyed about. My favourite bit of Christmas dinner is that bit at the end where everyone fucks off back to their own houses. I like to shower my girlfriend with gifts on Valentine's Day, and by gifts I mean sperm, and by girlfriend I mean tummy. Words can't express how beautiful I think my girlfriend is, but numbers can. 3 out of 10. Fucking hope she doesn't watch this. Yes, of course, Harry and Meghan. Meghan and Harry will no longer be funded by the taxpayer. Instead, they'll be funded by Prince Charles with money he gets from the Queen, who's funded by the taxpayer. Everyone in the royal family is really upset with Harry and Meghan, apart from Prince Andrew, who can't believe he's fucking luck. Did you know, for example, 2/3 of Brits sleep naked, and that's a survey of my neighbours done by me through their window. The average Brit spends 4 days a year looking for a parking space. It can be a nightmare. The amount of times I've ended up just landing it on the roof. And 28% of people have cheated at a pub quiz. I once cheated at a pub quiz. My girlfriend was livid when she found me in the disabled toilets with a barmaid. They say those who can do and those who want loads of holidays and to finish work at 3:30 teach. Yes, the best way to impress someone you fancy is to be yourself. I met a very pleasant woman online, but when I went to meet her, I felt disappointed, betrayed and upset. She wasn't a pleasant young woman at all. She turned out to be a gang of vigilantes. Harry and Meghan say they'd now like to split their time between spending your money in the UK and spending your money in Canada. Yeah, the most common thing people lie about is pretending they're listening. And that's according to a survey of all men everywhere. I'm always listening to my girlfriend, but then I like long, boring stories with way too much detail and no point. Did you know 6% of Brits buy advent calendars containing alcoholic drinks? But I don't need a calendar to remind me to drink at Christmas. I just look at my family. 16% of grandmothers say Christmas is the only time of year they get drunk and let their hair down. So it's not just Santa that comes but once a year, right, Grandad? And 15% of Brits give their bin men a festive tip. Not me, I put the whole thing in. Oh, yeah. Yes, the best way to impress your boss is to arrive early. My old boss used to like me to run a tight ship. And when I say run, I mean wear. And when I say ship, I mean shorts. In England, we have Deliveroo, Uber Eats and Just Eat. But Scotland's most popular delivery service is send the wee man for chips. Yes, the worst thing about owning a pet is when they die, especially if it's a guide dog. You never make it home.
Oh, Jimmy, you can't do that. Oh, Jimmy.
I'll never forget where I was when I found out my dog was dead. In my car, reversing out the drive.
No!
Did you know, for example, a half-hour session of lovemaking burns between 150 and 250 calories, which means every time I make love, I burn 3 calories. Oceanographers say killer whales are actually dolphins. Dolphins are actually gay sharks. And sharks are just bears that have been shaved and pushed into the sea. 40% of blokes have named their car. I call mine Jimmy. Yes, the long-awaited trial of Michael Jackson's doctor started this week. Make no mistake, Jackson's name is going to be dragged through the mud at this trial, but when all is said and done, Michael Jackson will remain my absolute favourite self-mutilating, mentally unstable, virtually bankrupt, suspected paedophile junkie of all time. Yes, the BlackBerry email system failed several times in the past week. You'd have thought Steve Jobs' ghost would have had better things to do. I can tell you the answer is false. 62% of men would rather be good at DIY than martial arts. They're right. In a fight, I let my fist do the talking. Please don't hurt me. Yes, indeed. Yes, the X Factor bullying scandal has been in the news. They should have kept Sammy in. Not because she's good, but to help balance the stage when Craig is on the other side. Yes, only 33% of people think children today are given too much praise. Children respond best to supportive praise and gentle encouragement. And if that doesn't work, lock them in their bedroom and tell them Santa's dead. Yes, this is the story that FIFA tried to ban poppies being worn by the England team. FIFA relented after Prince William wrote them a strongly worded letter. Oh, please let us wear poppies or I'll be really sad. I'm going bald and I married the wrong sister. Yeah. I will tell you. The best way to patronise someone is to say, you wouldn't understand.
Ah, OK.
When you patronise someone, you talk down to them nicely, whereas condescension can be quite rude. You got that, fuckwits? Did you know, for example, male sparrows chirp insults at each other when trying to attract a mate? Mainly, you looking at my bird? 68% of teenagers say they've changed their eating habits as the result of celebrity chefs. They say celebrity chefs, they mean Ronald McDonald and Colonel Sanders. And 4% of the British population say they might be bisexual. Well, you either are or you aren't. You can't have it both ways. Well, surprisingly, that's not in our top 3. People criticise McDonald's, but if it wasn't for McDonald's, where else would we take a shit in the town centre? OK, most people would face their greatest fear if they were paid enough money, true or false? Sean?
What do you think?
Definitely.
Yes,
They
OK,
would.
yes,
I think people
definitely.
would.
We'll say definitely.
You're saying true, you're saying...
We think yes as well.
Yeah. Go on.
OK, I can tell you the answer is true. 83% of people would face their greatest fear if they were paid enough money. People appear on shows like I'm a Celebrity to conquer their worst fears, like not being famous anymore.
I was never famous anyway.
Nation sweetheart. Yes, protesters continue to camp outside St Paul's Cathedral. In response to the ongoing protests, Barclays closed its doors, Goldman Sachs gave all its profits to charity, and a flock of pigs swooped majestically across the city sky. So those were the most talked about stories this week. But in other news, the IMF has lowered Britain's growth forecast from jack shit to fuck all. And a 5.4-ton NASA satellite is expected to fall back to Earth on Friday, although officials cannot say exactly where it will hit. They're hoping Dale Farm. Yes, Carlos Tevez was told he'd never play for Man City again after refusing to go on as a sub. Carlos Tevez earns £250,000 a week. To put that in terms the layman will understand, fucking hell. The Eurozone crisis has left Italian leader Silvio Berlusconi in an awkward position, attempting to maintain an erection while talking on the phone to Angela Merkel. Yes, learning to drive. The Institute of Driving Instructors recommend taking 44 lessons before you attempt your test, in much the same way that McVitie's recommend you eat a lot of biscuits. Did you know, for example, 3 in 10 households don't own a book? And before you start arguing, the Domino's menu is not a book. Scientists claim that up to 70% of British men are related to Tutankhamun. I think what they're saying is, somewhere in the very distant past, we've all got the same mummy. And 52% of dog owners pet their pooch whilst driving. I sometimes pet my girlfriend's pooch whilst driving. But I stroke her puppies first, I'm not an animal. Yes, indeed. Yes, Hollywood. If you're a pretty girl with a dream, then you should go to Hollywood. If that dream is to lie on a couch while being screwed by a fat, bald man with a cigar, then so much the better. So those were the top ways America changed the world. But other things that didn't quite make our list. America gave us social networking. By the age of 23, computer programmer Mark Zuckerberg had created Facebook. And amazingly, within just 3 short years, he'd lost his virginity. Starting wars. America entered the Second World War 2 years late. Stung by the criticism, it's made sure it got in nice and early with every war since by starting them. And America gave us Disneyland. Of course, the best ride at Disney is the girl that works in the toffee apple kiosk. Yes, this is the saga of the ongoing Dale Farm gypsy evictions. Has it really come to the point where 400 families can't illegally build an entire illegal town on an illegal campsite illegally without Johnny Law getting involved? Did you know, for example, 80% of all pictures on the internet are of naked women? Who knew? Men knew. 7% of Britons have got in trouble telling lies at work. In my experience, they get particularly upset when they find out you're not actually a doctor and that isn't actually a thermometer. And apparently the human heart creates enough pressure to squirt blood 30 foot. Isn't the type of thing you should write in a Valentine's card.
Probably heavy drinking is worse.
I can tell you, you are right. Yes! 63% of people said someone who drinks too much is worse than a fussy eater. I think a fussy eater is worse. If she won't put that in her mouth, she's not going to like what I've got planned for dessert. Oh, this tastes of coppers. course it is. Yes, it's been alleged Justin Bieber has fathered a love child with a fan. It's alleged Bieber only had sex with a girl once and that it lasted 30 seconds. That's pathetic. I could do it twice in 30 seconds. Well, surprisingly, that's not in our top 3. The Labour Party held their annual conference in Liverpool this week. Ed Miliband has admitted to some of the mistakes the Labour Party made when Gordon Brown was leader. Mainly that they had Gordon Brown as leader. Let's have a look and see whether bad manners is one of the most annoying things about modern life. Yes, bad manners are the most annoying thing about modern life. My granddad used to insist on standing up whenever a lady walked into the room, which ultimately is what led to him losing his disability living allowance. Most men say that when they fall in love, they can't tell if it's the real thing. I can. I have a special little indicator that sticks up. Did you know, for example, 31% of men say they have a bucket list of things to do before they die. Number 1, find out where that smoke's coming from. 12% of British people have a friend with benefits. I've got a friend with benefits. She's on benefits. And 27% of people believe in reincarnation. My uncle died and came back as a woman. I say died, he went to Thailand. Well, surprisingly, that's not one of the most talked about things, but this is the story that Mike Tindall was spotted on CCTV acting inappropriately with a mystery blonde. Tindall was chatting to the girl at a dwarf throwing contest. It was entirely innocent. He just wanted her to help him toss off his little fella. Well, surprisingly, that's not one of our top 3 talking points. The other big news in X Factor this week is that Johnny is out. No shit, Sherlock.
And I love the cock.
When they say Craig Coulton could be bigger than Subo, they're not just talking about his singing career. Hey, even if he does get kicked out, it's not the last we'll see of him on TV. There's always embarrassing bodies. Or Inside Nature's Giants. Yes, the best thing about the countryside is country pubs. I stayed in the countryside and every night I found myself in the ploughman's arms. He was so hunky, I just couldn't help myself. The best thing about retirement is time to travel the world. Of course, once you've retired, you can go anywhere. Down to the post office, to the bingo, to the post office, then maybe the bingo, or even the bingo, and then the post office. OK, well, I can tell you the answer is true. Yeah, 64% of people think being a bad dancer is more embarrassing than being bad at sport. I quite often catch a girl's eye when I'm dancing, usually with my elbow. Yes, the Dale Farm saga continues. Wouldn't it be an idea if instead of throwing bricks at the police, they held onto a few of them and built a house? Did you know, for example, a survey recently revealed the average British worker spends 25 minutes on Facebook every day, and that figure rises to 4 hours if they answer the question honestly. 4 out of 10 workplace relationships result in marriage, and 6 in 10 result in a written warning about the incident in the stationery cupboard. And almost a third of men aged between 20 and 34 live at home with their parents, the most common reasons being cost, convenience, and if you're from Norfolk, sex on tap. So, most annoying habit...
nose picking.
That is the right answer. Nose picking, yeah. Yes, the most annoying habit is nose picking. I tell you, he was terrible at nose picking, Michael Jackson. He just could not make up his mind. Yes, rock and roll. Rock and roll was born in 1955 with Bill Haley's Rock Around the Clock and was beaten to death in 2009 by Joe McElderry. You were robbed. Where is he now, eh?
Don't know, he's probably at home watching this.
Hey, Joe McElderry. He's joking, of course. He's driving the minicab. Yes, the top thing British people lie about is the number of sexual conquests they've had. I've rounded mine up to 2. Go false, OK. So I can tell you the answer is false.
Well
yeah.
done, Lorraine.
66% of people would rather visit a doctor. If I get diagnosed on the internet, I always make sure I get a second opinion from CFAX. Yeah, the top way to boost your self-confidence is to get fit. Of course, you don't need to get fit. If Gok Wan has taught us anything, it's that the easiest way to boost your self-confidence is to strip down to your bra and pants and stand in the window of Debenhams. The best way to spot a liar is that they keep changing their story. We've all told lies. I was drunk, he was drunk, we were just having a laugh, I never touched it. It was his idea, I fell on it. I just wanted to know what it tasted like. Nothing happened. I don't even know him. Stop going on about it. Did you know, for example, 25% of men think their eyes are their best feature? Let me think. Buns, guns, pecs, nads, little Jimmy Johnson, eyes. Sixth best. The world's oldest goldfish was 42. He put his long life down to regular early morning swims. And the average life expectancy in the UK is 80 years. Does not include Scotland. Terms and conditions apply. I can tell you that's not one of the most talked about things this week. But the Queen, as head of state, is obviously staying in Australia's most prestigious hotel, Lassiter's. Well, surprisingly, that's not in our top 3. But Kelly Rowland was ill last week, but this week she's been attached to a drip. Louis Walsh. Yes, the pressure to diet and keep fit is annoying. Some ladies don't exercise because they worry they'll look stupid. Ladies, you don't look stupid. What's stupid about an 18-stone woman in size 8 leggings sweating like a whore in church on a bike that's going nowhere? Apparently the top reason people are jealous of their friends is because they're thinner. Victoria Beckham's so thin, she's got to be careful when she has a bath, because if the water's too hot, she could turn into stock. Number 1. Yes, having children. Doctors warn women should have a baby by the age of 35 to avoid the risk of being deafened by their ticking biological clock. Yes, a rogue UBS trader has been charged after losing £1.5 billion. The only way this guy could be in more trouble is if he'd looted the money from JD Sports. Did you know, for example, pensioners can save £3 a day by not putting on their heating, which over the rest of their lifetime could save them a whopping £9. 66% of men are superstitious. I have a few superstitions. I'm scared of cats, and I hate the numbers 8 and 10. But fortunately, it doesn't really affect my life. And 8% of people have had their wallet stolen in the last 5 years. When someone stole my wallet, I was devastated. I'd had that condom since I was 14. Yes, Dr. Conrad Murray has been found guilty of the manslaughter of Michael Jackson. The Jackson family told the prosecutor they'd not just lost a pop icon, but a son and a brother and a valuable source of income. For those who haven't seen Black Swan, it's a powerful story about a man who gets a blowjob for going to watch a film about ballet. I'm pretty sure that was my take-home message. I should just say, because I was teasing you a little bit there, if you're being bullied because you've got a speech impediment, there are people you can talk to. But it will take fucking ages, and they may be OK, I'll give you a clue. It's bad for your confidence, I would say.
Oh, it's the intimidating shop staff.
No, rude shop assistants.
Size, your size.
I will give you that. I'll give you that. The correct answer is not finding anything that fits. That's actually why the London riots went on for 3 days, because a lot of people ended up looting the wrong size trainers. Did you know, for example, 29% of women under 30 say they want the perfect body? Well, here it is, ladies. Come and get it. 79% of people say they feel guilty putting recyclables in the bin. I get round it by placing my recyclables in a paper bag and throwing that in a hedge. And the average woman walks 7,000 miles in her lifetime whilst hoovering. And that statistic is brought to you by the year 1953. Yes, Yes, indeed. World leaders are struggling to solve the Eurozone crisis. What's basically happened is the Greek economy has come acropolis. So those were the most talked about stories this week. But in other news, Steps are at the top of the album chart, having announced they're reforming. All they need now is to find a mutually convenient time when all of the bandmates are available. Basically, they've got to choose between tomorrow and every other day in the future. Yes, the Eurozone crisis continues. The Greek Prime Minister, George Papandreou, may resign. I suppose if he does, he'll have to go back to his previous job, running the laundrette in EastEnders.
Team?
Jennifer, what do you think? Are most men too embarrassed?
False.
You're going to go false? OK. I can tell you the answer is false. Oh. You got it. Yes. Yes, only 43% of men said they'd be too embarrassed to have beauty treatments. These days, you can even get your arsehole bleached. That's what Liz Hurley did with Shane Warne. Yes, the space race. Before mankind commits to the astronomical expense of returning to the moon, we need to ask ourselves some searching questions. Like, how much cheese do we really need? OK, good. Yes, being bombarded with adverts is another thing that annoys us all. People say adverts aren't effective, but I know exactly who I would go to if I wanted to compare insurance quotes. Quotezone.co.uk. OK, I'll give you a clue. It's to do with spending.
Always marry into money.
Don't get in debt.
Well, you're pretty close with that.
Well, don't get in debt. Really don't get in debt.
I'll tell you the answer. It's the value of money. My parents taught me how to be self-reliant. Even now, if something goes wrong at 2 in the morning, I'm the one that gets up and phones my agent to send someone round to fix it. I hope you enjoyed those clips. If you want to watch full episodes of 8 out of 10 Cats, then you can on my YouTube channel. Just, search for it on YouTube and you'll find it, because it's there.